Super took over the tour, and then women weren't on the tour. I'm like, Rick, what is going on? And he's like, Amber, it's like out of my control.
On today's episode of the Grab Matters podcast, we sit down with legendary female wakeboarder Amber Wing. We talk with Amber about growing up doing gymnastics and then eventually making the transition over to wakeboarding. We also talk with her about contest riding, how she got into that, what the contest landscape was back in the heat of her career, and kind of the differences between pro men's riding and pro women's riding. We also talk about what it was like being a mother and an athlete at the same time, and kind of coming back from having that first child, getting back into competitive wakeboarding. We touch on the foundation for women's wake as well. That's a foundation that Amber started, kind of what it is, what its goal is. We also talk Sets in Motion, which was an all-women's wakeboard movie spearheaded by Amber herself. We also talk about a ton of other stuff, answer some Patreon questions as well with Amber. Really great chat with her. If you guys are interested in supporting the podcast, joining the Patreon is the best way to do that. Everybody who joins gets a free sticker pack shipped out to them, and then those on the gold tier are able to see who the guests are early and submit a question for me to ask here on the podcast. Without further ado, thanks everyone for listening. Enjoy this episode with Amber Wing.
Waterboarding. They're talking about wakeboarding. The thing about wakeboarding, every trick is an invert.
Backside.
One-side air railing.
A new dimension.
All right, let's do this. We're back with another episode of the Grab Matters podcast. Today we welcome on a very special guest, Amber Wing Smith.
Yeah, you could say
What's
that.
the official?
The official?
Yeah.
Well, I am officially, well, my passport says Amber Smith.
Okay, so
Yeah.
early question. Wing is, I'm not going to talk bad about Smith. It's just a pretty common name. Was there ever like a Dean, Wing, a little cooler than Smith? Are we going to take Dean Wing, Amber Wing, or are we just rolling with Smith? Was that a conversation or no?
No, it wasn't a conversation. I don't know. I always kept my Instagram Amber Wing and my professional page Amber Wing, and I have my business name Amber Wing. But then I have, when you get married, you've got two lives, I felt like. So then I have this Amber Smith life where I'm a mother and my kids, and we're a family and we all have the same last name.
Okay. Personally, maybe I'll talk to Dean about this, try and say that. Because, it is interesting in a sense because you build up your name throughout your career of, 2 decades almost of Amber Wing, and then kind of changes to Smith. It's just a...
Yeah, well, it's my whole brand. It's
well, in the wetsuits too, Wing wetsuits, everything. So
yeah, and everyone knows who Amber Wing is, and it's Amber Smith, who's that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got two identities.
Living double lives.
Amber Wing, Amber Wing on the wake scene, and then in the home life, got this Amber Smith, and at the wakeboard Aussie nationals and presentations, they always make a joke, and when they call my name out, they call out Amber Smith, and then when they bring Dean up onto the podium, they say Dean Wing.
Love that.
So it's pretty funny.
All right, so I usually start off with a few quick questions. First one, wake pants, yes or no?
Well, I've never owned a pair of wake pants, and but I did think that in the early 2000s, late 90s, they did look cool, but I'll never own a pair and I'll never wear a pair.
Okay, that's fair. I like that answer. A lot of people are kind of, walking the line they're all right, but I like that. You're never going to own a pair?
No.
Love it. Favorite grab?
Ooh, favorite grab? I think it would have to be a melon grab.
Okay, just a straight up melon.
Yeah, melon.
Like it.
Yeah. There's a lot of my tricks that I like to do, and with a good melon grab on it, it just feels so good. And yeah.
I'm thinking of a frontside 360 melon in my head. That's kind of what I'm picturing right now.
Yeah, that melon, backside 180.
Ooh, yeah, because that's the melon
too.
and then you poke and grab.
Yeah. Or sometimes, melon, and then I can grab indie on the way.
Yeah,
down.
the double grab. I saw a couple of those.
Yeah,
I was a big
like
fan
doing
of those
too.
All right, so let's dive into kind of how you got started, because obviously for the listeners, you are from Australia. So run us through where you're from in the early days of getting into water sports.
Yeah, so I grew up, and I'm from Sydney, Australia. I grew up in a water ski family. My dad and his brother barefooted. My mum grew up, she barefooted as well, and then got into ski racing. My mum was the first female world champion in ski racing, which is super cool. My dad holds the backwards barefoot speed record.
To this day?
To this day.
Wow.
Because no one's allowed to break it because it's too dangerous.
That's how you hold a record right there.
Yeah, him and his brother did forwards, like Brett Wing did forwards on the same day, and Dad did the backward speed record.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so then when they got together, had kids, like we've got 3 siblings. I got a brother and a sister, and they got into 3-event skiing. And so we were brought up doing 3-event skiing. My mum and dad would both compete, and my brother really got into it. So yeah, he was a 3-event skier, and my sister and I like skied by default, really.
Okay, whole
My
family
sister,
affair.
yeah, the
type
whole
thing.
family affair. Like wake up in the morning before school, put the boat in, like drive it to the boat ramp. We didn't live on the water. Drive to the boat ramp, drop the boat in. Family of 5 would all ski, pull the boat out. Dad would back it down the driveway. Mum would go in, make the lunches. Me and my brother and sister, we would flush and wash the boat out because we grew up skiing in salt water. And, then have a shower, get ready for school and go to school.
Wow, early morning sessions.
Early
Love
morning
that.
sessions. That's when we live, near the coast. So by about 9 o'clock, the river's mostly blown out. So you can't really go. You can't depend on going out in the afternoon. You'd always have to go. If you want good water, go in the morning.
Yeah.
So
Typically how it is. Yeah.
yeah. So I grew up doing that, but my love was gymnastics.
Okay.
And so I was a gymnast. And by about 12, I didn't even I would ski when the sun was out and the water was flat. Mainly just jump on a trick ski because the whole family's out in the boat, or they put a boom on the side and we'd barefoot on the boom because that was fun. So whatever was fun to do behind the boat, that's what we'd do. But my main focus was gymnastics.
Okay, I wanted to ask about gymnastics because I think obviously it helps with, trick skiing and wakeboarding. Gymnastics background absolutely has to be invaluable to learning tricks and stuff.
100%.
So how long were you into gymnastics for?
15, 16 years.
Really? It was that long?
Yeah, so I started, my mum put me in gymnastics when I was 2 years old, and I retired, finished when I was 18.
I didn't know you ran it all the way up till probably end of high school time, right?
Yeah, through high school. So I chose my schooling, my final 2 years of school, year 11 and 12, which is that called your senior year over here?
Yeah, junior, senior year.
Yeah, so I chose a school that, in Australia, school goes from 8:30 till 3 o'clock. And there was this school that had so many students that they ran their 11 and 12 program, year 11 and 12, from 7:30 till 12 or 7:30 to 1 o'clock. And which is what they do here in Florida.
People don't even go to school here in
so,
Florida.
I don't know, yeah. If they go to school, that's what time they go to school. So I was I'm going to this school for year 11 and 12 so that on a Tuesday and Thursday I would finish school at 12 o'clock and I would go to the gym at 1 and I would train from 1 p.m. till 9 p.m. with a 30-minute break to do some homework.
Okay, that's a lot of that's a long time.
Yeah. So I was probably training 30 hours a week.
Yeah.
I would train Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday to Saturday. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
Saturday I had Wednesday off, but generally on a Wednesday I would do a stretching class or do something that wasn't in the gym but would benefit and help me.
So, obsessed maybe not the right word, but very driven. And so was there a goal of, okay, I'm doing gymnastics. What was the goal for you, I guess?
I wanted to go to the Olympics.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wanted to go to the Olympics. The 2000 Olympics were in Sydney and that was my goal. It was the gym that I was at, is more of a levels stream gym where they, and because gymnastics has levels and elite. And elite is the Olympic, levels, and then levels is just a little bit easier, I guess. And so my coach took me through levels, level 3 all the way to level 10. Level 10's the highest. I went and tried out the Australian Institute of Sport, and they I was in between year 8 and year 9, and they said I was too old, it was too late kind of thing. And so then I was like, I'm not a person that someone tells me I can't do it, right? If people tell me that I can't do it, it makes me want to do it more. So, so I got to level 10. I won the Australian Championships in level 10, and then I went over to elite, and I did senior elite late 99, 2000. Got third in the state. I think I was I was definitely in the top 10 in Australia. I was really good on vault, and I was at that point in 2000 in January, the Olympics were in September. I was maybe I could be an individual on vault, maybe, the Australian coach, her name was Duping at the time, I went in a competition and she was oh, wow, doing really good. And I was oh, awesome, maybe I have a chance. And then weeks before the Olympic trials, I broke my ankle, and then that was it.
Okay, I was going to ask why did that kind of pursuit come to an end? Is that kind of the catalyst for that?
That was the catalyst.
Okay.
I one of a horrific break. They said pilots break their ankle like this in a plane crash because your ankle bent back so far. So I rolled one ankle, all my weight went on the other. I was doing a back to front tumbling pass, and it was the neck of my talus bone that I broke, and saw 3 specialists. All of them said, the third one, he was just look, I can operate. It could be better. It could be worse. Could be the same. And I'm not going to touch it. And I was just but I can't do gymnastics. And he goes, well, you're just going to have to do something else. And I was
excuse
I don't
you?
know, beg your pardon. I had a scholarship to the US. Somehow my coach had got me a scholarship
to
to
a college here.
Boise State. Yeah.
Oh, Boise State. Okay.
And I was okay, I have no idea where that is, but if I can go to America and do college gymnastics, this is going to be awesome.
It is kind of in the middle of nowhere, to be honest.
I know where it is now.
Okay.
Because of how much traveling I've done.
True, that makes sense now, but yeah.
I was oh man, I don't know if I really would have liked that because I don't really like the cold.
Yeah, it's got to be freezing.
And I was
there.
it looks like it'd be really cold. So, so I pretty much, by the time the Olympics were on in Sydney, we my whole club, we were the number 1 club in Australia at the time. So we were in the opening ceremony. We're swinging around on the bars, which was super fun. So we were all part of it and around the competition and everything like that. I had tickets and
that's cool.
Super cool stuff. But yeah, I guess I had been that kind of athlete for so long that I couldn't just do nothing.
Yeah.
And probably 2 years prior, a couple of friends from gymnastics, they would go out on the river and they grabbed a wakeboard. And so then I'd be hanging out. I would, Saturday afternoon after gymnastics, we would go out on the river behind little tinnies, aluminium boats with 25s on the back. And we would just I could get up, right? So we're oh yeah, so I kind of started wakeboarding, I guess, when I was 16, but I was training 30 hours of gym a week.
So it was more just it
was a fun
friends
thing
are out
to
on
do.
the tinny. We're doing a little wakeboarding, but
yeah.
I'm still a
summer at
gymnast.
school holiday. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have time for anything else.
Yeah. Okay, so 16 you get into wakeboarding, but you don't get into it. You just experiment a little bit and then you break your ankle. So I guess what's that transition? Because it sounds like you got the hard news basically. You can't do this really anymore.
Yeah, my ankle was, it wouldn't really go past 90 degrees. So I didn't have much flexion if you pull your toes back. I couldn't put my toes and bend my knee, and my knee wouldn't touch the wall.
Okay.
If you think about
Yeah.
that, and that's like a test that they would do, and so my toe would be on the wall, and my knee like wouldn't touch the wall, and so they're like, okay, we've got to get your knee to the wall now. We've got to like move your toe back, and so I just started like wakeboarding, like I guess like it was I guess I was 17. Right, it was a couple of months before I turned 18 that I just, I got this old, was it? I don't even know what wakeboard I was riding on. I think I asked my dad to get me a wakeboard for Christmas, and he was like, okay, like, got me the cheapest wakeboard. It was a free motion journey with, I don't even know what the boots were on it. And I got it for Christmas Day, and I was like, oh, this is not that like
Thanks, Dad.
great of a wakeboard. Like, I don't know. And then like I rode it for 2 months, and I was like waking my dad up. And then like I went in like my first wakeboard competition like when I turned 18, and I'd wake my dad up to take me wakeboarding like every morning before I'd finished school at this point. I was working for my parents. So I'd just wake my dad up in the morning, go take me wakeboarding. He's like, yep, like my family, like the answer is, or if someone asks, can they like go for a ski or a wakeboard? Like the answer is yes.
Yeah.
So like, it's like now my dad's like, can you take me for a ski? I'm like, yes, of course. Like there's no other answer.
Yeah.
Dad would like take me wakeboarding like pretty much every morning, because I just had so much fitness, so much energy. Like I needed like an outlet. I needed to do something. And my friends that were they were like gymnasts. They were like doing tantrums and stuff on the wakeboard, and I'm like, okay, well, like I can stand on the ground and do a backflip. So like surely I can do it in the water. Like it can't be that hard. So yeah. So I started on this free motion journey, and then a couple months later I got a 128 trip that was secondhand, and that had been gone on rails and had some like epoxy fixed because like they'd gotten a hole in it, and so that kid had gotten a new board, and my dad had like gone, oh, okay, this one will work for you. Like so I had that with some ultra suctions on it.
There you go. That's a classic setup right there.
It is a classic setup. And so I finally, because my mates had like a 28 trip, and they had like extra large ultra suctions because like, you know, they're 16-year-old dudes with like massive feet.
Yeah.
And I'm like this tiny little girl with like tiny feet.
Slipping out of this thing. Okay, so but 16 or 17, I guess 18 is pretty late to get into, you know, wakeboarding. Obviously you had background with trick skiing and just messing around on the boat, but the gymnastics background, I have to imagine, like I alluded to earlier, was probably huge for you to learn those first few tricks. So like what's your progression like early on once you do start taking it kind of seriously?
So I think I jumped the wake hillside, and then I learned a tantrum.
Love it.
Behind, like, my parents had, it was an Australian boat called like a Camaro Strata 2000. So it's like a closed bow ski boat, center mount, with a high pole. So we'd put the high pole on it. And then my brother, because he was like a trick skier, he wakeboarded like a little bit, and like any trick skier who gets on a wakeboard, it's like a back mob, like front flip. So we had 4, I think they're like 5-gallon like drums with like half sand, and then just fill it up with water. And so we'd put these 4 drums like along the back seat of the Camaro, just to like give it a little bit more, get the wake a little bit bigger. Yeah. So yeah, I learned a tantrum, and then I started like trying to find people like out on the river that had wakeboard boats. My neighbour had a Malibu Response, so whenever like he would go out, I'd like, you know, be texting them like, hey, can I go for a ride? And yeah, met some crew that, Rod Davison Reece Jordan and Pete Stewart. They're like OG Aussie riders. Well, Reece came over here, Reece Jordan, like in the late 90s. And yeah, we would ride. I'd like got in riding with them on a Monday morning, and so changed my work schedule, and I'd work Tuesday to Saturday, sometimes Tuesday to Sunday, and my day off would be Monday. And I'd have to get to Rod's house at 5 a.m. and we'd get the boat all ready, head to the boat ramp, and like ride till like 9 or 10, depending on the wind. Yeah. And that's like, so like I guess I learnt like a tantrum, jump the wake and a tantrum like behind our Camaro. It got to a point where like I couldn't put any weight in it anymore because it was like a 10-year-old boat. It had 1,000 hours in salt water. Like the manifolds are rusted through. Like the thing like was starting to overheat. Like it was like that boat was like such our awesome family boat. Yeah, but there was no more like I couldn't put the engine. The engine like couldn't go under any more stress. So
maxed her out.
Yeah. So I remember or like learning, to land 180s. Like I think I started doing the like 180s and stuff. After I landed a tantrum, and then I was trying to do, and I think I did like a toe side back roll, and then learning a hillside 3 was just brutal. Like just so many slams.
That handle pass will get you.
Yeah. And then like the boys, like Dean, I'd be riding with Dean.
So you were riding with Dean back then?
Yeah. Yeah. I met him at my first wakeboard competition, like when I was 18. Okay. So like Dean Smith, Scotty Broom, John Henson, they were like all lived in Sydney, and Hayley Henson, John Henson's sister. So that was like, they were all at the local wakeboard competition. And so, met them and then started going wakeboarding with them. And then those boys, like, they were brutal. They'd just be like, try whirlybird, and I'd like, okay, yeah, like, I can do a back foot, I can do like double twists, like, and like they, like later they were like, told me that they just, like that I would just get slammed all the time, and that they would just tell me to try stuff to,
they just think of something.
Just to see me get slammed, really.
Brutal.
Yeah, but
okay, so you're riding with them, you do your first contest, meet a bunch of people, start riding with, crews and getting on the water a lot more. When does this turn from like maybe getting some attention to sponsors or doing a lot more contests, making a journey over to the United States, like the kind of the progression of that?
So all that happened like in my first summer, like when I turned 18. And so then I came into winter, and everyone stops riding in winter, but I rode, and I was coming last in the wakeboard competitions.
Okay.
Like, just so like, I came last. My parents suggested, like, I was like, I want to go to nationals. They're like, well, like, like maybe you should just wait till next year. And and I was like, oh, but I really want to go. It was really far away. It was like 15-hour drive from like my house. And like you're just going to go to party. And I'm like, yeah, well, what else do you do? Like, I don't know. Like, you just turned 18. Like, you're legal in Australia. Like, this is my thing. Like, I would like drive to my wakeboard events. I'm like telling my parents, don't come. So, yeah. So then I didn't go to nationals, and I rode all through winter, like with a full suit and like a heater top underneath it. And at that point, I think I must have gone through boards like really quick, because through that winter I was on a double up, like it was called a Serena. And so it was like the Delta series, or just like flat double up board with fins on it. So I took the fins off and I learnt all winter. I just didn't fall off and learnt how to jump the wake, regular, switch, start doing 180s, backside 180s, like getting board control.
Yeah, some fundamentals getting in there.
Yeah, doing the basics. And that's when it all changed, because then I came into the summer and there was a Planet X event. So like Randall, Emily, Danny, like everyone's in Australia for I think it was called the Planet X like Slam Jam, and it was at like the best like facility that we had. Like it was the Olympic Rowing Centre in Sydney where we had this wakeboard event. And I go to my parents. I was like, okay, I want to go and ride in this contest. And they're like, okay, well, you can go, and then like you just come back to work when you're finished. And I was like, okay. So I drive out an hour to Penrith, go ride, and I make finals. And so I've gone from coming last in my local events to making finals in this
0 to 100 real quick.
Planet X event. And so I was supposed to work the next day. And they're like, well, I guess we'll find someone else to work and that, you know, go out and ride. And I placed 4th. So I think it was like Emily won, Lauren Huff got 2nd, I think Kathy Williams got 3rd, and I got 4th, and I was the highest placed Aussie. And I was like, whoa, you know. So that was the point that like I was like, okay, I got to go to then that summer, like I won all the Australian events, like won nationals. I'm in junior women's. I get selected to go like to represent Australia and stuff, and go to Japan, win like the Asian Australasians in juniors, and then I'm like, I've got to go to Orlando and see like what this is all about, because everyone who's good at wakeboarding goes to Orlando.
Yeah.
So my trip to Japan for Asian Australasians turned into a 3-week trip where I went with the Australian team to Japan, and then Neil Harris, who was like the Australian president for wakeboarding at the time, he was going to Orlando for Surf Expo. And so I went like on the same flight with him to Orlando and to see what it was all about. And I had 2 weeks staying. And it's really funny because I know that I was staying like downtown. I have no idea like what my like I can't remember like things like that, but I remember that like Mark Ferraro was a good family friend from trick skiing. My dad would like help get him to Australia to coach all the trick skiers in Australia. And so like Dad lined up for me to have a set at OWC before Worlds were on. So Worlds were at OWs that year. And I was riding junior, and I rode junior women's in the WWA Worlds. And yeah, had a familiarization set, jumped in the boat. There's this girl, another girl, her name's Amber. She's like riding junior women's as well. I'm like, oh, hi, Amber. Hi, Amber. It's Amber Hansen, Trevor and Reed's sister. So then meet her, and I'm like, cool, like, you know. And then Steph Tor, I somehow meet Steph Tor, and she takes me out to the Hansens' property to meet, to go and meet Andy and Joni, and met Trevor and Reed, and just to like meet people and go wakeboarding. And she took me around to the Aussie refugee camp, which was like where Daniel Watkins and Josh Sanders lived, and to go ride. So I was like going around riding with everyone. I was getting really close to landing. I don't think I'd landed a whirly yet, but I was like getting super close. I remember trying whirlies like out with Daniel and Josh, like out there, and yeah, that was my first. And so I'm going around, I'm like, you know, meeting people. I ride Worlds. I like fall, get 4th place at Worlds. Everyone's telling me I'm going to win. Everyone's like, you're going to win. Like, get fourth place. And, but I'm like, I have to get back. Like, I'm coming back here next year.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but I'm going to get back here.
Okay. So a few questions on that. One, you didn't have any sponsors at this time, did you?
No.
Okay, no sponsors. And did you ever have a coach? I mean, up until obviously Mike probably was helping out a little bit maybe when you rode with him, but like, did you ever have an official coach at any point?
No, I never had a coach.
That's sick. I love that. I think that's so cool because most people I feel like I talked to way back in the day, or even now, like behind the boat, have a coach. I think it's really interesting that.
No, I just, especially in Australia, like I'm just riding with all the boys. They can do all the tricks that I can't do, like which is like scarecrow, like really, like, and so everyone that I would ride with, like they would just tell me what they would think, and I would listen to them, take it in, like think about, like I know how to flip in the air, like it's figuring out how to land, how to take off, like that kind of thing. Yeah. From my gymnastics background, like I'm very like a progression ladder kind of like mentality. So I would be like, okay, I need to learn this trick first and then I can learn that trick. And then,
building blocks type thing, working your way up. Okay.
Yeah. So I never had a coach, and I guess I met Mike and I only rode that one time in that year with Mike. And then it was when I was trying to land a 720. I went and which that's a bit
fast forward a little bit. Yeah. All right. So you go back to Australia, and then you're obviously kind of fueled with some passion. It sounds like I'm going to get back to Orlando after this season. Yeah. So when does that first sponsor happen? You remember who it is?
I think my first sponsor that paid me some money was Spy.
Really?
Optics.
What are we talking with Spy? What was that looking like?
It was $1,200.
For the year?
For the year.
Okay, $100 a month.
Yeah. It was pretty much based on like an airfare, like to Florida.
Okay.
So they were just like, but it was really funny because they're like, oh, you're only here for half of the year. You're only here for 6 months. Like if you're going to go over there. So, so we'll pay like half your airfare. Because like in Australia, like the airfare was like $2,300 like to get over here. So I think Spy gave me like $1,200, and I had like sticker on my board, and then randomly I had this sponsor, this clothing sponsor called Plush, which is just this Aussie clothing company. We were randomly like walking around these factory outlets and met this guy who owned a wakeboard boat, and he had this clothing, and he gave me like all these clothes. I wish I like kept some of them because I don't know if you've seen like everyone's wearing like early 2000s. And, like, he made, like, the best baggy jeans, like, baggy long jeans, baggy jeans short, and, like, and
you should have kept them. Those would be in now.
I know.
Full circle.
I know. And I was just like, oh, my plush jeans. Like,
okay.
But, and Double Up. So I had.
Okay, you did have a board sponsor then.
Yeah. So Double Up gave me a wakeboard.
Okay. But then that was
in
just
Australia. Like, so these are, like, I have 3 Australian companies, like one giving me clothes, eyewear, and a board. Yeah.
And the only one that you got any kind of money from was Spy, just for that plane ticket.
Yeah.
Okay. So explain then, when you come back to the United States, after that period, where do you stay? The whole rundown of that first kind of major trip, I feel like.
Yeah. So I'd met the Hansons the year before. So I emailed them and I was like, can I come and stay? And they're like, yeah, we'd love to have you. Can you cook? I'm like, sure, I can cook. Like I wasn't a cook.
No, but yes.
I'm not a cook at all. But yep, absolutely. Like can't be that hard. So I fly in and I get to stay there and cook, and I get 2 sets a day, 5 days a week. and and I'm the camp cook. So I, get the rundown. I start the first 2 weeks were rough. I made scrambled eggs and no one touched them.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. That's pretty tough. I feel like scrambled eggs are kind of easy.
Yeah. And it was purely the way that they looked.
Oh, okay.
Because it's really funny. My mum would make scrambled eggs with a fork, and if you make scrambled eggs with a fork, they're like these tiny little granules of scrambled eggs.
Yep.
And so after the second day, one of the campers, he came in the kitchen. He's like, "I'm going to show you how to make scrambled eggs." I'm like, "Okay," and he gets a spatula and makes the scrambled eggs, folds it up, and I was like, "Okay, sweet." So day 3, make scrambled eggs. Everyone eats them. I'm like, sweet.
Hey, quick learner.
Yeah. I was like, I got this. So, and then I was cooking lasagna, which is frozen in the oven. You can't go wrong on that, right? Yeah. Well, somehow I burnt the whole bottom layer of it. Maybe the oven was too hot. I didn't even know what happened. And I serve it up. I'm like, just eat it from the second layer up. It's all good.
Don't go down to the bottom and you'll be all right.
Take the bottom level. So yeah, I'm cooking for 20 people a week. That's how many students.
Yeah, that's no joke.
World Wakeboard Center would have every week. So I'd wake up and I would cook, breakfast for 20 people, put all the breakfast out. And then while all the campers were eating breakfast, one of the coaches would take me for a wakeboard. So
that was your time.
That was my time. So I would go and have a ride and then come back, clean up after breakfast. Coaches would go out, they coach, and then clean up breakfast, cook lunch, put lunch out. And then while the campers eat lunch, I'd go for a ride at lunch. And that was my first year. That was where I lived and what I did. I don't know if I had a car. No, I didn't have a car. So I would be just on the Hanson property, which and every Sunday go to church with them. And that would be the one time I'd go into Orlando that I would pretty much leave. That was the only time I'd leave.
Not getting around a lot.
Nah, I didn't get out. All I did was there and wakeboarded.
Yeah.
I would go and ride in the gravel tours. So then I started meeting some people, and when Amber, their daughter, and I were we're really great friends. And so when she got her license, that we would go for drives, and that's when get out and about a bit. And I do airport pickup, so I'd take the big 12-seater van or however many people I don't even know what it was. And but that was where I lived. That's what I did. And that year, I think before I got to the Hansons, I flew into California and rode my first Pro Tour stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering when that was going to be.
Yeah. So I flew into California. My mum's ski race friend, her name's Carol Larson, she picked me up and she was like, "Oh, my friend's got a lake. My friend's booked me in to go for a wakeboard." And so I don't even know what lake it was on, but she drives me up to this lake out of LA, and we arrive, and I think it was Ricky G's boat that he had. It was the black Nautique with a pink tower.
Okay.
And I rode behind that boat. And that was I'd just flown the 14-hour flight, have a ride there, stay a night with Carol, and then flew up to Portland. And then my friend, Bronwyn, picked me up from the airport, and she's like, so I've got us a car, and we can go, I can take you out to go wakeboarding. She's like, "But I can't drive the car. Can you drive shift?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can drive a manual. I can drive whatever." And so, so we get in this car, and I've grown up in Australia. I driving manual, but it's on the other
On
side.
the wrong side.
On the other side, using the other hand.
Yeah.
But lucky that like my dad's cars were all manual, and I thought it was fun to change gears for him. So so it was actually really easy for me because I'd spent my childhood like changing gears with my other hand, sitting on the other side.
I was going to say, otherwise I've done like one time on the wrong side, brain in a pretzel. Like I know how to drive stick manual, but brain was in a pretzel for the first few minutes.
Yeah. So we jump in this car, and so I've flown into Portland, and we drive, and I drive. She's like, okay, we're going to Lake Billy Schnook. And I was like, okay. So we start driving, and I'm like, we're driving through the forest. It's forest. Then there's like mountains. I'm like, wow. And then we're like out in the desert, and I'm like, this is wild. Like, I can't believe like how many changing landscapes like
California,
in this space, like, you know. And then we get to the lake, and I think Mike Ennan was out in the boat, like it was his boat or something, like, have a ride, like go wakeboarding. That was just such a memorable experience, like going there, because it's like the river like is in a canyon, so then you're out in the canyons, and so rode there, then came back to Portland, rode in the Pro Tour stop, and I got equal third, but because of standings, I placed fourth.
So what do you mean by equal third? Like tie for third?
Tied for third.
So they did have
to Emily Copeland.
Okay, well that's a good person to tie to.
Yeah, super cool. So and then for the podium, they're like, okay, like
can't have both of you up there.
No.
Yeah.
So then you get fourth, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I got paid.
What's the purse looking like? It had to be pretty good back then.
I can't even remember. Like, all I remember, like, I get there, I didn't really know anyone. Like, I remember sitting under a tree reading a book. I met I kind of like talked to Kathy Williams a bit. The girls were all standing around, and I remember from Dallas, they were like, so who's going to get second of Dallas today? And I'm like, what? What? Oh, okay. Like, I don't know.
That's how we're approaching this right now?
Okay, cool. What? Well, I don't know. I'm like trying to win here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm just here. Like, so, but Kathy was like, you're in the money. Like, into finals, and all the boys like Daniel and Josh and Ike, they're like, I can't believe you just made finals. Like, no one makes finals in their first Pro Tour stop. Like, no one. Like, you need to I go into right into semis, and they're like, just letting you know, like, you're not going to make finals, like, because it's just what happens. Like, you're a rookie. Yeah. It's your first comp. Like, but yeah. So then I made finals. I can't remember. I really can't remember what the prize. I don't even remember what first place was for Dallas.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Maybe I got like $500.
But the bigger deal was that you made finals first.
The bigger deal was
yeah.
I made finals, and I tied for third, and that was awesome. And then and I got a check, and so then I went back to the Hanson's Road, and then my next event was the Malibu Open, so I had to fly back over to the West Coast for that. And I think I got third.
The Malibu Open?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
At this time, are you still on the double up then board?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm curious about, this might be fast forwarding a little bit, but when does Liquid Force happen? Is that your next board sponsor?
Yeah, that's my next board.
Okay.
Sponsor.
How long does that take after? Because obviously.
So I rode the whole season on the double up.
Okay.
And then I went to Surf Expo, and that's when my dad had flown over for the trade show, and I'd met this girl through the gravel tours. Her name's Denise Paris, and she lived near the Hansons, and I started riding with her a bit too. and I did 3-trick line. And my 3-trick line was, I'm trying to think, like in what it was like a whirly bird, a toe 5. It was probably like indie front roll. Yeah, I probably did indie front roll, whirly, toe 5.
Okay.
And we've got it on like a video camera. And
I just went back. That doesn't sound like there's any reverts in that line. I'm putting it into my head. Whirly bird. Or no, scarecrow. Or front roll first.
yeah, front roll,
Whirly bird.
whirly
toe
bird,
5.
toe 5.
No reverts.
No
Love
reverts.
that. Love that. Ahead of your time with that one. Okay, so you nailed that 3-trick line.
So yeah, I have this 3-trick line. I'm going into Surf Expo and I'm like, we're going to get sponsors. Because I'd had like some podiums or like, third. Like I'm in finals. I got an invite to Gravity Games. I went and rode Gravity Games. Like, yeah, I'd had a great first season. And so we went and talked to like J-Star, Hyperlight. I'm talking to Paul O'Brien, and we go over to Liquid Force and meet Tony Finn. Tony Finn kind of knows my dad, like through the industry, and we open the video camera up, like, oh yeah, this is like what like my daughter can do, And he's like, whoa, yep, you're on Liquid Force. And he goes over to Aaron Grace. He's like, Aaron Grace, we're signing this girl. Like, she's on Liquid Force. She's on the team. Like, $500 a month. Like,
just
let's
like
go.
that.
Just like that. And I was like, whoa, oh my gosh. Like, yeah. And that was the start.
Just like that.
So, just like
on
that.
Liquid Force.
Just like that. On
Love
Liquid
it.
Force.
Okay. Right from the man himself, Tony Finn, too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Aaron Grace went and like goes to Ben Greenwood, like, do you know this girl? Like, and and Ben was like, oh yeah, actually, because like I think by that point, like I'd probably been riding gravel tour, and I think like I started meeting some crew from the wakeboard camp, and like just trying to ride as much as I could. So if I'm like doing like Monday to Fridays, like at the Hansons, and I'm riding on the weekends, like out of the wakeboard camp, or like with Denise out on her boat, I just was like anywhere, anytime, like as much as I could. I was on the water.
So that's a big moment though. I mean, getting a first, like you had Spy, and it sounds like you're getting boards from Double Up, but no like monthly check where you're like, okay, this is now going to be my job. But talk to Tony Finn, Liquid Force. Yeah. That's a big moment in someone's career.
It was massive. And so I go home, and I'd started getting into wake skating. Like Megan McNeil was a really good friend of mine. Or she is a good friend of mine. And and we like would go wake skating and stuff. And so I go home for the summer and I blow my knee out.
I was going to ask, because I knew that was happening wake skating. So first off, what were you trying on the skate?
I was just doing a shove it.
Shove it. Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, I was doing wake to wake.
Really? Okay. I was going to say, yeah.
No, I was doing a wake to wake jump, and I could do wake to wake, and shove it, and I did a wake to wake jump, front foot landed on the board, back foot missed the board, like just
the classic
wake
skate
split.
Fall. Yep.
Yeah, hurt my knee, and blow my knee out, and I've just signed with Liquid, and like. Get surgery as soon as I can. Like, I think 2 weeks later, I was like,
really? Okay.
Getting knee surgery. Like, I didn't drink for 6 months. Did like exactly what the doctors said, everything. I flew to Lake Powell to do the shoot. Like, I wasn't really wakeboarding, but I like the team shoot was on at Lake Powell, and I flew myself there. I was I flew myself to LA, and then they flew me into Powell, and I like just so I could carve on the board and get some shots, and be at the team shoot, because it was like really important to me. Yeah,
definitely, especially your first one too. It's like I'm not going to not be there. Like, exactly, I'm on the team now. I'm going.
Yeah, exactly. And so then I went home. I didn't go to Florida from there because I hadn't finished my rehab. So I flew back home to Australia, finished my rehab, and then WWA Worlds were in Australia that year. And I went up to Cairns and I lived with Angelica Schreiber, and she was riding boat at the time and in juniors. And so I lived with her, and I was like kind of coaching her, and we'd ride, and that's how I like started riding boat. Got back on the board.
Yeah.
Because I was like, where's hot in Australia? Like, well, where's, up in Cairns where she lived was like super hot, it's tropical. And so I'm like, I'm not going to fly to Florida for 3 weeks and then come back to Australia to ride the Worlds. So I went up to Cairns, got back on the water up there, and then went to the Worlds, and I think I got third.
Okay, so is the knee fully recovered at this point?
Knee's fully recovered. I think I had 3 weeks of full on riding.
Okay.
Like I was doing like wake to wake jumps for a couple of weeks, and then I think I had 3 weeks to get my run together.
Get a pass together.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably got third.
Worlds.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually a good time to do the LF'n wheel of questions, because we were kind of touching on liquid force, and you're riding a liquid force board at this time. So if you can reach it, I don't know if you can, go ahead and grab that down. Oh yeah, you got it.
The LF'n wheel of questions.
Okay, let's go.
Look at that. So I'm going to start running through what's on the wheel here. So we have quite a few of wing trivia, which I personally really hope it lands on wing trivia. We got the classics: make a movie, steal a trick. I think goat might be on there, maybe not. But yeah, go ahead and give that a spin. See what she lands on.
Wing trivia.
Yes. Couldn't be more stoked for this one. So we got looks like we got 4 wing trivia questions here.
Okay.
I think if you get one of these right, I would be impressed. Like they're kind of hard.
Okay.
First one's the easiest one though. How many wings does a dragonfly have?
Oh, 4?
Yes. I was looking it up. I was trying to find bugs that have more than 2 pairs of wings. Doesn't exist. 2 is the most.
Oh,
I figured there'd be one with like 10,
Yeah.
but no. All right, 1 for 1 so far. The Stratolaunch airplane has the biggest wings in the world. How big are they? So like, what's the wingspan in feet? It's a big plane. Or you could go meters, I guess. I can do the conversion if you need.
I feet's good because I measure in like 20-foot boats.
Okay, fair enough.
What like I'm doing in my head. I'm like, how many like wakeboard boats would like?
Yeah.
But I can't even picture what this plane looks like. So
it's pretty big. Throw me a guess.
120.
385.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have got that either. The average American eats how many chicken wings per year?
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of a tough one. Average American, I will say it's quite a few.
300?
90. I guess per year. So I'm sure there's a lot of people.
There's a lot of people that don't eat wings.
True. There's some vegetarians, vegans out there. They're not eating wings. So, but you got the people that are probably eating 300 to bring that average up, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, if you like go out and have wings like once a week,
yeah, for sure. I mean,
then you're gonna have way more than 300.
It's true. Crushing 12 wings. I mean, that's no problem in one sitting. Yeah. Speaking of eating a lot of chicken wings, what is the world record for the most chicken wings ever eaten in one sitting?
In one sitting.
Yep. This one surprised me quite a bit. People put them down.
50?
444.
Oh,
and I'm not sure if I believe it, to be honest. This was on Google, so I don't know if I believe it. That's a lot of. That's insane.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know how you get that in your stomach, but all right. I'm so glad it landed on Wing Trivia. That's awesome. Thank you to Liquid Force.
I'm so glad I got one
for
right.
that. Yeah. You can put that up there. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the first one, that's the only one most people would have got right. I don't think anybody would have got any of those other ones right. But little fun facts there for Amber Wing there. So, all right, we're talking contests. You're obviously doing well, getting some podiums. I am curious, did guys and girls have equal purses back then?
No.
They didn't.
No.
And was that something that you guys talked about in the moment? You remember?
yeah, it probably actually started on my second year on tour that I really started rallying.
Okay.
Like, and it could have been my second or third year on tour was when they took women off from 5 pro tour stops down to 2. And I was just like, no, like, this is not, you know, you can't do that. Like, and I, like, was talking to Kathy Williams a lot about it, and Kathy and I went and had a meeting with Sean Dishman and Chris Bischoff. And I remember sitting there with them, like, going, you know, like, what can we do? Like, how are we going to, like, this, you know, how are we going to get women on 5 tour stops? And it, like, the same old, like, answer that it's just like, find a sponsor for women. And I was just like, what guy is going to go and get a sponsor for the pro tour? Like, I don't know. It's like,
isn't that kind of your job?
It's
to
like
be honest?
Danny Half or Parks, or are they gonna like go and like
Call up sponsors,
put proposals together, like to get sponsors for the pro tour? Like, I don't think so.
No,
like,
they're the athletes to compete in it.
Why are you like? Why am I thinking that like I need to go and find a sponsor, some Aussie girl find a sponsor for like the US Pro Tour, like to get women on 5? So anyway.
Do you remember the reasoning? I mean, you talked to them. Do you remember the reasoning they dropped it from 5 to 2? Was sponsorship the reason?
Yeah, it was sponsorship money. And they mainly, like, a lot of the time, like, people would be like, either like sponsors or industry people, like, because it's a male dominated sport. They would be like, you know, the women aren't doing the harder tricks, or like they're here to watch the men and stuff like that. And I guess like that's where I like was like, no, like they're here to see us. Like they like watching us ride. Like we pull crowds. Like we sell boards, we sell product, we sell boats, we pull crowds. Like they're just not here to watch the guys. Like it's not a dude fest.
Yeah.
So, it was just.
But that was something that you guys, I mean, you sounds like for sure pushed for, but talked about amongst the ladies of like, I mean, that would suck to just have it drop from 5 to 2, like in the heat of your career for sure. Like,
yeah, it did. And then Raimi Merritt came on the scene and her dad, and then we got back on 5. So because Mona V sponsored, so they found a sponsor, right?
Yeah.
So Mona V were like, no, girls are going to be on 5 stops. Like, I'm putting up the money. Like, here's the money. Girls are at 5 stops. Like, Steve Merritt.
Yeah.
Or, like, epic. So, yeah. So we had 5 stops, Queen of Wake, like, all of that. So that was, like, super awesome. And then, so, yeah, we had 5 stops for like, maybe 2 or 3 years. And then it went back to only being 2. And then it went to 0.
What year did it go to 0? I'm trying to remember. Because 13 is when it switched from Mastercraft to Supra, I believe. Or maybe it was 14. And I think women were they still on in 13? They have a stop in 13? I feel like they did. You would know.
I gonna say probably 13 was the last year.
I think that's right. I think it is.
Because I've got a Queen of Wake trophy that's 2013.
Okay.
Yeah, I won Queen of Wake that year.
Okay.
So, and I have and like 3 guitars.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, we are fast forwarding and we can back up in a little bit, but like when it was fully dropped, what was the, I guess, chatter amongst the women? Like what?
Things that I remember were that Mastercraft dropped Nicola. That really, like, I was really mad about that. And I was like, you don't even have a female rider. like you don't have a female rider.
So she was the only one at that time.
Yeah. And then we like weren't on the pro tour, or like we'd been getting, you know, maybe like we'd been getting dropped from the pro tour and stuff like that. And I was just like, this is so screwed, like, you know, and the blame was really put on Mastercraft, which I found like interesting, like, because then what proceeded after that was then when Supra took, and I was a Supra team rider. So I rode for Supra for maybe 8 years. And I would talk to Rick Tinker, and, you know, he's like, we support the women. And so then, then when Supra took over the tour and then women weren't on the tour, I'm like, Rick, what is going on? And he's like, Amber, it's like out of my control. Like, so then he blamed it on like the tour and the tour organizers. So that's like really Bonnier, that they, you know, that Mastercraft or Supra give the money to the organizer, and the organizer allocates where that's going to go. So I just felt like it was this, like, people like pointing in two different directions. Oh, it's their fault. And like
it's the
no
Spider-Man
one
meme
else,
where they're pointing at each other.
Like no one else could like, so you couldn't really figure out like
you never got to the
I
bottom
never
of it.
really got to the bottom of it. I never knew who had the final say, but like I mean, I
Still
talked,
bullshit,
I
though.
talked to a lot of people about it, and like I was always, throughout my whole career, like I was always rallying for something, like rallying for the girls, always.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah, because that's just a tough pill to swallow, and it's something you don't want to see either, because there's so many different aspects of this, and I don't know how deep we want to dive into the wormhole. We kind of got into it pretty good there, but like, if you don't have women on the tour, the cascade effect of getting women in the sport is very profound. It is absolutely noticeable.
Oh, for sure. And like I don't know, like where like the female fan base at that point, like was huge. Like we'd been like Liquid Force, we had like we had a female team manager at the time, Kathleen Penny. So there was two. There was Aaron Grace and Kathleen Penny, and there was the whole Maven project. And so we had been traveling the US, like we'd rock up, we'd have like, you know, board bags full of demo gear. We'd have 2 Suburbans, like, or maybe like 1 Suburban, like, and that car was full of board bags, like to the brim, and like 5 of us all like slammed in there, going and like running 4 boats, like so many girls. Like it was insane how many girls like we were getting out on the water like every week and just traveling around. Like for instance, we would fly into Seattle, drive, like we did Portland, Tri-Cities, Kelowna. We went across down into Idaho, like into Coeur d'Alene, like came back across. Like we covered so many miles, so much ground, like hitting like every single lake, like almost in the country.
Yeah.
Back then, like there, we're over like doing like the North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, like Texas, like, you know, it's wild how many people that we got on the boards. Like Larissa Morales is like 7 years old, like in Texas at this Maven tour stop that I'm coaching at, like putting her on a board. Like, yeah. And so like we've got that happening while we're being pulled off the pro tour and like making like, I don't know, $2,000 for winning a tour stop. Like it was like, that doesn't even cover like, I don't even know, your airfare and like whatever. And then, yeah, it was wild.
Confusing, I would imagine too. It's just like, this isn't adding up to me.
Frustrating.
Yeah. Frustrating for sure. So I actually have 2 questions on this. So one, you mentioned you guys had a lot of fans, and I don't think I've really asked this to anybody, but obviously you and all the other female riders and the male riders all garnered a lot of fans back then. Like there were people showing up to meet you, to hang out, to watch you ride. And I'm curious this is probably at a lot of contests, but people would come up to you and try and talk to you, hang out with you at contests. How do you balance that mindset of, okay, I'm here to compete and win, but I also have to be like a really nice, friendly person to all these people who are my fans and showed up to see me and meet me, hang out. Like, how do you balance that mindset at the same time?
I feel like I like meeting people, and I'm like quite social, and from being like at the Hansons, like I was at the Hansons for like almost 2 seasons, and then I went to the wakeboard camp, and I was at the wakeboard camp for another, like until it closed. And I'm meeting 20 people a week, and I'm riding and I'm talking to them. And so then I would like go to events, and it's just like it's just part of my life and what I loved doing. Like I had plenty of time to talk to people and meet people, and I wasn't the competitor who needed to sit in the car for an hour and like focus on like
the headphones on,
that kind of thing. Like I would talk to everyone, like socialize, then I'd be like, okay, however long before I would ride, I would go into the riders area. Like, yes, I would put my headphones on. I would listen to music, like trying not to overthink what I'm going to do out on the water, because like, don't need to think about it. You just go out and do, because like you do it every day.
I've planned for this for weeks and months before.
It's not like I don't need to overthink it. So I guess like I think like that's really helped me and all my sponsors and my and my fan base and like Amber Wing as a brand, that I like had plenty of time to talk to people. I love talking to people, like, where are you from? Like, all that kind of stuff. And it never really affected me. I never really thought about it. I'd just happily meet people that come up and introduce themselves to me and their daughter and everything like that. And had plenty of time to talk to them, and then just go into the riders area, do my stretches, like run through my
I guess I was just curious on that, because I'm sure people have different competitive mindsets. Some people are like,
absolutely.
I don't want to talk to people all day. Like, I'm here to do a contest.
like Dallas, like, she's out having a run, like talking to Mike, like she's, like
locked in.
It might be like 2 hours of like, getting in the zone, getting her mind where it needs to be to go out and do what she needed to do.
Yeah.
So
I guess I could sometimes see it being hard, like if you fell on a pass twice or whatever and you had a hard day, and then there's people who are like smiling to see you, and you're like, damn it, I'd like this, like kind of sucks, Yeah.
Look, if I went out and I fell on my passes and it was a bad day, I'm not the person to get in the car and leave. There's lots of people that get in the car and leave and fly home, and they're like totally over it. Like I would like go and find whoever, crack a beer with them and start.
That's the mindset we need.
And my favorite crew, like the Shred Hag Mafia, like those ladies, and always at US Nationals every year, I would ride finals, and I'd finish my ride, like do whatever I need to do. Finish the work side of things, whether it's interviews, like talking to sponsors, whatever I needed to do. And then I would go find them, go sit in their tent and drink beers with them. And it was so awesome. I loved hanging with them.
That's a good mindset and attitude, especially to not get burnt out, I would imagine too. Like no matter what, win or lose, I'm having fun here. This is an awesome place to be. Yeah,
you have your good days and bad days. Like, it didn't really, like, sure, I was upset and like, but I didn't just disappear.
Yeah, not sulking it and make it break your world. So
Okay,
so you were talking to Maven earlier, and I think I got a Patreon question. So if you want to support the podcast, joining the Patreon is the best way to do so. Thanks to everybody on the Patreon. It means a lot to keep this podcast going. This is from Laurie, and I think this is Larissa. I'm pretty sure. I don't have her full name in there.
Yeah, probably.
But she says, I want to know more about the Maven girls. It was a big inspiration for me when I was first starting out, as you alluded to, in the sport, but never really knew kind of what happened to it.
So, yeah, that's absolutely Larissa, because we were in Texas, and, she's from Mexico City, I think. Like, they would just drive across the border, and that's how she got into, I guess that what made her pumped about wakeboarding is because she came out on the boat with us. So it all stemmed from Bob Archer. Kathleen Penny Bob Archer was a family friend, I think, of hers. And she put together a full business proposal about like a women's co-brand. And it was Maven from my memory and my understanding. And that's her. And so she put the business proposal together. She sent it to Liquid Force and Bob. And Bob Archer was the one who supported and bankrolled it. And so she came into the company. She did all our contracts. Like, my salary substantially increased. But okay, we got paid more, but we were working harder because we were on the road. And then the boards were like co-branded Maven, which was super cool. So yeah, it was just the female movement. That was all about. What it was about was us being out on the boats and getting more girls on the water, which was like my dream.
Yeah.
Like, that's just everything that I lived for. So I guess after, I think it was 2 years or 3 years, Liquid Force Bob Archer, I think, said that he would pay for it for 3 years. And then Liquid Force as the company had to take it on.
Yeah.
And I think when that time came around, whether they took it on for a year, like, that's a bit foggy in my memory. I'm not really sure. Like, Liquid Force maybe took it on for a year, and then like the industry changed and had to phase it out. But that's pretty much, yeah. Does that answer Larissa's question?
That definitely answers the question. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people probably didn't know that, though, of like, well, it was around and it was a thing.
Yeah,
big thing.
And then what happened?
And then what kind of happened to it. That makes sense.
Yeah. So then, like, all us girls were still on the team, like, and my contract still, like, kept quite strong, and, we'd established this thing. And so when Maven stopped, I kept doing clinics. Like, I kept going. I kept reaching out to dealers or people and organizing girls' clinics around, because I just love doing that.
Yeah, and it's crucial. It's super important, as you mentioned, and just invaluable.
So I pretty much did my own private ones.
Okay, you did that for a while.
Yeah.
So we were talking sponsors. So Liquid Force, you were on for a while, but then you did make a switch to Ronix.
I was on Liquid Force for 9 years.
9 years. Yeah.
A long time.
That's a long time. It's almost a decade. Yeah. So
I think I had 9 pro models.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go. You still got all of them?
Yep.
Love it.
They're in the roof of the house.
Beautiful. As they should be.
Each color, each,
perfect
size.
wall hangers. Okay, so I guess we can talk about the pro models first, because that is definitely a goal of everyone's. Like, that's, there's a list of pro riders that's it's at the top for a lot.
Yeah.
So what was it like designing? I mean, how big of a hand did you have in designing the pro models, graphics, all that stuff throughout those 9 years with Liquid?
I was really into the graphic design side. So every year I would send in my little inspiration board email kind of thing. So I'd send an email in of a bunch of things that I'd Googled of inspiration of what I would like my board to be like. And then I would fly in around March or April every year to LA, get down to Encinitas, go into Liquid Force, chat with them. Pretty much every time I flew through LA, I went and stopped in and went to Alliance and Liquid Force. And would talk to the design guys. And so like, yeah, there's one year where I was like, oh, I want, the Southern Cross, and like, I think there was like roses and like the Southern Cross and this like, and my signature was all in there, in this kind of emblem, like, in the middle of the board. And then other years, like I sent like Gucci and like this black and gold like thing, and that was like, that board was really that with the gold chain. Yeah, and then I think I found an artwork. My last one, I found this artwork that I really liked, and I sent it in, and then they actually asked the artist if they could use it as my board graphic, and they did. And
got the approval.
Yeah, I got the approval. So that was my last board.
It's a cool way to go out, honestly.
Yeah.
So speaking of going out, though, I don't know how this happened. So Liquid Force to Ronix, what's the switch? I mean, what's that looking like?
It was a tough day. So it was 2013, and I just turned 30. I turned 30 in 2013, and I'd landed a double flip in January. I'd won everything that year. I'd won Masters, won Queen of Wake. I got that pro model that I was super excited about. Came out at Surf Expo, and I was flying home, and I was at Melissa's. I just remember like being in Melissa's truck on the phone to Grace, and he was just like, yeah, I'm just calling to let you know that we've got no budget for you next year. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? I've got a pro model. Yeah, we'll pay you the royalties for that. But yeah, we've got no salary for you. And I felt like I'd just been stabbed in the heart.
Completely out of left field.
It was wild.
Yeah.
The only really thing I can put it down to is that Megan was coming on the scene, and that they took my budget and they gave it to her.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes
that timeline
makes sense to me. They didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
No, like.
Would you rather have, if that's what happened, would you rather have heard that?
Probably.
Yeah. I would as well. Yeah.
Like, just instead of just nothing. So anyway, I pretty much got off the phone to Grace, and I was like, because I was like, can I come up and like, can't like, and I think I even called Don after it, because I was like, Don, like, what? He's like, I'm so sorry. Like, and then, yeah, they were just like, no. And so then I called Paul, and I was like, Paul,
look, man,
can I ride for Ronix? He was like, oh my God, I'd love to have you. Like, of course, and and that's how I
pretty quick
went on to Ronix.
Yeah.
And I mean, at that time, like by that point, not that it influenced, well, like Dean and I were dating at that point. So I think I'd even like gone to Radar with Dean, and like Paul had been like, this is the first time, like only you, Amber, would I allow like, an athlete from another company to like come to Radar or something like that. Like,
so did you have clips from Radar Lake on your Liquid Force board in?
Yes.
Was it Sets in
Motion?
Okay, that's what.
Yes.
Okay, and I saw that clip, and I was like a double take, because I was like, well,
yeah, because of Sets in Motion, and Hayley was sponsored by Ronix, and that she wanted to build a rail at Radar and film there, and so. I'm the girl to
can't say
rally
no.
people together and
no.
get things happening. So no, like, I mean, Radar's like, it's a mythical place in the water ski and wakeboard industry. So it's a super cool place to go, and I've got a lot of family history in water skiing. And
okay, I think it's a good time to talk about Sets in Motion then, because we're just walking right into it. Mm-hmm. So this was an all women's wakeboard movie. So, and you, is Spearhead a good way to like put that, as you were kind of spearheading this project? Yeah. So run me through that just the idea of it, how you managed to make it happen, all that.
So it came from my frustration of never being asked to be in a movie. All the guys were always filming, and like apart from, you know, team movies, like no girls were ever like asked to be in the movies. Like any of like, I don't know, like think of like all the wakeboard movies through like 2007 till, or even earlier, like 2003 probably to 2000, I don't know, just all of them except for Drive, because that was the first movie that I was in with Kilgus. That was the only film that I ever like was asked to be in.
Really?
Yeah. And like I'm hanging out with like Keith Lyman and Ben Greenwood and like all my like Dean, like everyone, like all my crew are always filming for movies. And I'm like, how do you get in? Like how, like, you know, why are girls never asked to be in a movie? And I'm like, well, screw it. Like, and like Maddie Swanson, like I'm on Oakley and like, and I'm talking with Maddie Swanson and I'm just like, we need to do a girl, like, I don't know, like I just want to film. And he's like, yeah, sweet. Well, let's just do a girls film. What's it going to be? And I'm like, all right, let me like think about it. And then I was like, let's do, you know, and because at the time, like it's still not, there's not like, it's not a big like social media time. Like, I don't know when Instagram, like, but it wasn't, Instagram wasn't a thing that you post videos on. Yeah. Like Instagram was a thing that you post photos on. So I was like, okay, we're going to have like a YouTube channel and we're going to do like 10 little episodes, and then we're going to bring all those episodes together and have a movie. And then like so then we're like trying to come up with the name, and then and basically Maddie was like, I'm 100% behind you, like 1242 Productions, like, and Oakley, we're going to make this happen. So you just tell, like, you know, where you've got Jack Blodgett to film, like Jack and Shonka was like the in-house editor, and he was in the wake industry as well. So I had a filmer, I had editing, I had like budget behind it. So then I just had to rally the girls, think of a name.
How'd you come up with the name?
I think Haley and I were like just throwing up a bunch of names, like, you know, pen and paper had a bunch of names. And then I'm like, well, we're taking like wakeboard sets, you know, so we're kind of like trying to think along those lines. And and then like we're moving in motion, and sets in motion. It's
a good one. I liked it. It's a good name. I like it.
Yeah.
So, it makes sense too.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to have all the girls ask their sponsors to like be involved. And then, and that's how like each episode, like, had a title sponsor.
Okay.
So like Oakley like did the whole thing, but each episode there was a sponsor that helped make it happen. Yeah. So it was super awesome. And then like, gosh, getting the girls together to film, like, it's just like, I don't know. Sometimes I was just like, seriously, girls, like, this is like really going to help you. Like, it's getting exposure. Like, it's such a great opportunity for you. Like, you know, and because like most of the time, like you're getting a boat and a chase boat and like filmers and so like Michael Buffer from Wake Girls, he filmed quite a lot of it because he was out in his parents had a house out in Claremont, and his wife took photos, and they had a boat as well. So we'd have my boat to ride behind his boat to use as chase, and we could like film a lot. and
Get some clips.
get some
stacked.
clips and try and do stuff. But yeah, like a lot of my energy was getting like logistically, like getting girls out to film.
So you're kind of not team manager in a sense, but like you were the one to get the shoots together. Of
I was
like,
the
hey, we need to come
driving force,
Yeah.
behind the whole thing.
That's fun, but also stressful probably. a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit.
Look, it was really good. It was so awesome. I loved it. Like clearly, like with any video project that anyone says that they put out, like you always want to have like better tricks or do like better things in it. And then like, I don't know, even after we did release it, then you hear like there was some backlash. Like, is that it? Like, like couldn't you have like done this or that? Like,
Everybody's a critic.
I know. And it's like I did my best.
So that's a good lead into this question is if you were to do it again, would you do anything differently?
I don't know. There's nothing that I could do differently.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we did the Australia trip. That was like super awesome. Got the wake skating girls involved, like which Jen Gillenfar was always a good friend and great to get their exposure for them. We went to Radar to shoot for Haley, and there's nothing different. Like so many times filming, like whether it was filming for Sets in Motion or like push process, like there was tricks that I was trying to do. I was always trying to do this nose grab heel 7, and I like snapped my board so many times and got a few concussions, and it's just like you can't like
You're trying to
there's
push
a
it to
line.
the
Like I'm
yeah.
trying, but
Yeah.
that's just there's only so much that I can do.
Yeah. But I mean, as a whole, Sets in Motion, I remember talking to Beck and she was just like, these are huge things for women in the scene to be able to look to and see. Obviously, everybody likes watching movies, or back then it was a huge thing for sure. And to not have a representation of the women's side of the sport is hard for the women coming up and the girls to like.
Yeah. Like they say I think in the 90s there was like Beyond 3 movie, and then there was the chick flick, and then I guess like Sets in Motion, but there was like a couple of movies that you could watch like girls in, like Encore the Truth, like Melissa and I were in those, and then after that was Push Process with Oakley. But like Wake Girls, like, so that was a website that that Michael and Laura Buffer, like, that they ran and started, and they actually bought a video camera and gave it to me, and they're like, here's a camera, and can you just like, so I would travel, like all my travels, like I would film just, POV, like here we are in Japan, like in this airport, whatever, or this, World Cup stop here, there, and then sometimes we'd like film ourselves riding, but then they would come out and they would film us, and he would put together edits like on his website. And that was another place that you could see women wakeboarding and what's going on. Yeah,
and that's huge. It's definitely huge, and it's good to see. I don't know how much you keep up with it now, but obviously Cena with Copycatsclub, it's a very great.
Like when Copycatsclub started, like I bought the first episode, I bought the first magazine. I was like, this is something that I like have to have, like, like the first all girls magazine, like this is huge. And like I went on and like bought it. I think it was like 45 Australian dollars, like for me
to get it over. Oh, classic Australia trying to get stuff over there.
Magazine, like to my house. I was like, I think I paid like with my PayPal account that, cash bottles in. Get 10
That's the free money, that and Venmo. It doesn't really count. Like it's just sitting there. You can spend it on whatever you want.
Exactly.
So we were talking Oakley.
Yes.
How was Oakley looking? Was Oakley pretty good?
Oakley was the best sponsor ever. Like Oakley, when I signed, so I just signed with Liquid, and then I signed with Supra, and then I was really trying to sign with Oakley. I was like, I want I want Oakley. I want to be on this team. And then I think I landed a toe 7 and I came, and it was actually in Australia. And then I came back to Florida and Oakley signed me on. But it was kind of like, it was funny because like Maddie signed me on and he's like, he goes, but I want to do this trip to Australia. And so he signs me on and I like organize the whole team to come to Australia. Like, and I think like that, I got so much respect from Maddie for doing that and creating this amazing like trip to Sydney, like for the entire team that like he was just blown away. And and I was like, I was so in after that, yeah, like
Team manager Amber strikes again.
Well, yeah, like, you know, I'm all about just bringing people together. Like that's what I do. So, yeah, so I organised this massive house for like 20 of us to stay, boats, yeah, like all the accommodation, like itinerary. I put together an itinerary for us to film like on Sydney Harbour, like when the ferries start, what time we have to like be out there. Like that was a 3 a.m. start for that. I mean, the same thing in New York when we did, like when Keith rode. That's the Statue of Liberty. So the Statue of Liberty and the Opera House and Harbour Bridge shoot were both 3 a.m. starts. That, yeah.
Makes sense.
You get up and get out and wait for enough light and then. Yeah.
See, at 3 a.m. to me, I'm just staying up. I'm not waking up. Like I'm not falling asleep at 6 p.m. to go to get up. I'm just staying up all night.
But yeah, so, and that led to like absolutely my best paying sponsor, like, and the opportunities that Oakley brought me. Like I was part of like the research where they would fly, like me, Nicola got to do it too, into California, like staying at this like beautiful like apartment with like pro skaters, pro snow skiers, pro snowboarders, pro surfers. And like we have a whole itinerary where we go surfing and then we do yoga and then we do stand-up paddleboard yoga and we go for a hike and we're given all these clothes and we wear them and then we have to do a survey. So then we all sit on our computers and say like what we liked about that, what we didn't, what we would change, like blah, blah, blah. So that's how they developed all their activewear and their swimwear. And just being part of a company like that was just so amazing.
Yeah.
Like going to the Amazon, like, you know, like when they're like, okay, go to this, you know, we've booked in like your immunizations, like, so you just walk in and like $500 of immunizations that's all organized by Oakley, like, and then they, like, you send your passport to the Oakley head office and they take care of
it's all
everything.
taken care of.
Yeah. And then you just get on the plane and we went to Brazil and went on a boat in the Amazon and stayed on a boat for like 7 nights with a cook and like there was a couple of cooks on the boat and yeah, we're filming and having like these crazy awesome like experiences that like
Bigger than wakeboarding for sure.
way bigger.
Yeah.
Way bigger. Like, yeah. Or like flying into like we did a photo shoot at Worlds in Oklahoma for Oakley and it's like for Maxim, like the fashion editor for Maxim magazine comes out on the boat. And so like he's out on the boat and so then my sister had flown in from Australia to visit me and I'm like, yeah, we're going to go like to New York and like we're going to do the New York Vegas thing like and so and because of Oakley I'd met the fashion editor for Maxim magazine. I'd gotten a hookup for like staying on like 1st and like 53rd or whatever, like this apartment. The guy was like, yeah, can you get me some Oakley gear? I'm like, yeah, for sure. Like just give me your order. So he emailed me like his order. I send that to Maddie. He like does the order. Like that's how we paid for our accommodation, like in New York for 2
Probably
nights.
unreal place in New York.
Like,
imagine,
this like sick apartment in downtown, like the fashion editor for Maxim, he like takes us out to a French restaurant like for dinner, then like meatpacking district, going to nightclubs, like our names on the door, like not lining up, like in VIP like treatment. And it's just like
money was flowing.
this like, you know, like we didn't pay for anything. Like he wouldn't even, we didn't even pay for, like he wouldn't let us pay for dinner. Like champagne on arrival. Like, I don't know. It's just in a whole nother world. Like that any industry, like any company in like you don't really get that experience. Like you would get that experience with like Red Bull, like Monster, like those kind of, they're the companies that like you like,
The
any
peak,
gyms like Rockstar, you like that's where you can get hookups to have like, you know,
these bigger
those
things.
bigger things than just wakeboarding.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of sponsors and being a mom, I know we haven't talked about that yet, but I think I talked with Dallas about this.
Yes.
And I'm curious to hear your not thoughts or take, just maybe experience of, because you mentioned you met Dean, you guys obviously talked about probably having a kid, and I'm just curious your thoughts, and then also what your sponsors, you know, their thoughts as well at the time. Was that something you talked about with them? Just kind of run through that, because I'm very curious to hear about it.
Yeah. So I guess the point that I decided that I was ready to have a kid, I guess I didn't talk about it. I didn't talk about it to my sponsors.
Okay.
Like, you never know how long it's going to take. Like, it's not, you know, something
Fair
that's
enough.
like, you know, I think Dean and I might have talked about it in May. I rode the whole season like that year. And like we were trying, but like I never fell pregnant the whole season. At the end of the season, like I won the last event. I remember it was in Perth. It was some like on the Australian team, Australian Australasian or something.
What year is this?
This would be 2014.
Okay.
And then I came home, and then then I fell pregnant. And so, kind of thinking about it, that's about when you roll out, like when contract renewals, and everyone like Rockstar renewed, Malibu renewed, like everyone renewed. They were like really happy for me, like, and excited. And so I was pregnant for my summer. I flew back to America and probably went to some Malibu events and was just around. Like I made a big effort to be around the scene. And then I flew home back to Australia when I was 32 weeks pregnant. And that was in May. No, June. Yeah, May or June. Yeah, late May. Flew home. And I had to be home. I was home for 12 weeks. To like give birth to our child. Dean flew home for 3 weeks, and he flew home like a week before my due date. And then anyway, so but my sponsors, they were all super supportive. Like they still paid my salary, like everything. We had William. William was 6 weeks old. Flew to Tokyo. Met Dean in Tokyo. Dean won that stop. There's that photo of Dean on the podium with
See if I can find
the
that.
baby.
Put that in here.
6 weeks old. Everyone thought I was crazy. I'm like getting the immunizations, getting a passport, getting a birth certificate, like leaving the country with a 6-week-old baby. Like then we flew from Tokyo to Orlando, then took William to Portugal to the Worlds. I think Worlds must have been in Portugal.
Mr. Worldwide, little baby.
2015. Yeah, he did like
all
4
over.
continents in the first 4 months of his life. And I just made sure that I was around and still representing like the brands, and they still supported me. And then came like back riding the following year, 2016, and I won US Nationals. I still was on the podium. I was like on the podium at, I think, every
You did very well
event
in your 2016 year. So I guess off the
with
back
a 1-year-old.
Off the back of that, I have two questions. One, 2011, I think, was your best year. I think you had 7 wins, 6, 7 wins, 2011. So an amazing year.
Yeah.
I'm curious, was 2011 a bigger year, more important year for you, or was 2016 a bigger year coming back from having a child?
The like 2011, 2013, and I guess 2016. Well, 2007 I won the Worlds. My first, the WWA.
So I guess
Worlds. That was a big one.
We can
for
throw that
me
one in there too.
Yeah. So 2007 I won the Worlds. That was massive. Me and Phil won the Worlds. We were both on liquid, and there was like this huge Liquid Force dinner like at the casino that night. It was epic. 2011 I won my first Masters and like had a really good year. In 2013 like won Masters again and had and I think like landing a double flip that year and being 30. I think that's what 2013 was like.
Okay.
There was, because like people like get washed up, oh, you're this age, like just the stigma on like all this, like whatever,
30-30,
like,
right, Dean? Right?
Yeah. So it's just like, like I'm not washed up. I'm not like, And then coming back and winning nationals with a 1-year-old with a baby, I was like, wow, that definitely, like, that year was absolutely a big year, because going into having a baby, I was like, okay, I've done everything I could possibly achieve. I've achieved way more than I ever set out. Like, I didn't go to Florida with like, I'm going to be the best wakeboarder and I want to I was just like chasing this passion of this sport that I just loved to do. Like, I love being on the boat. I love being on the water. Like, it's more about like, I just love like wakeboarding. It was never to me. And then like to make a living out of it, like amazing. Like, I'm making a living out of my job is doing something that I love to do. Like, this is the best.
Most people dream of this.
Like, but I never I wasn't wakeboarding to be a world champion. I didn't think that I was going, I never thought I was going to wakeboard to be the first girl to land like a bunch of tricks. Like, I was just doing it because I loved it. Like, and I would do things. I would be pushed to do things because people said that girls can't do that, right? Like, girls can't spin, girls can't ollie, girls, they like don't do those tricks.
Girls can't toe 9. Well, Amber Wing can toe 9.
Yeah. So, so then I was like, okay, well, I want to be a mom. It's something that I wanted to do. Like, I don't want to miss out on that. So if I can never be competitive at wakeboarding again, like, then I won't regret it because there's nothing more. Like, I've achieved everything.
I was going to say, was there a sense of accomplishment at that point when, you're thinking about having a kid? Were you looking at it as like, I've accomplished a lot. I've lived a big dream. Like,
and I'm like, and you don't know what pregnancy is going to do to your body. Like, you don't know how you're going to recover from it. Like, what complications or anything. Like, so you've just got to be prepared for anything. And so that's the mentality that I went into it with. So then to come out of it and like be back on top, I was just like, this is awesome. Like, this is wild. And like I was like catching up with Megan last night and I was telling her that, what I, where William went and whatever. And I took William to Wakefest one year. And when he was 1, like in that year that I won everything, I won Wakefest. And I'm pretty sure I've got a photo of him. I won Wakefest. So I generally like organize babysitters. Like I tried to organize babysitters to go to Wakefest. It's a Malibu event. Like I've got to go. And I had everything dialed in except for Friday. No one could look after him on Friday. No one was available. And it's like Wednesday. I'm flying out Thursday. And I'm like, I told everyone, I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm just going to take him. Like, there's no one to look after him Friday, so he's just going to have to come with me. Like, I don't have to pay for his ticket. He's an infant in arms. Like, I had a porta cot that fit in my board bag. So I packed my board bag, put the porta cot in my board bag, like, have, like, my backpack. Like, I had this, like a nappy bag as a backpack. That was my thing. Like, pack all his stuff up, call up Bryant going, hey, so I'm bringing William, like, to Wakefest. Because I'm staying at the Malibu house. So they, like, get me, like, a bedroom instead of, like, sleeping on the floor somewhere, like, you know.
Hey,
like, instead of a blow-up mattress on the floor. Like, so, yeah. So William comes and we are out on the houseboats and I've got the baby and I remember being in a houseboat and I'm pretty sure it was Adam Field's girlfriend at the time, and I go to her, I was like, hey, can you hold my baby? Because I got to go wakeboard now. And she's like, sure. Like, and I hand him over and I just met her that day. And yeah, and I go and ride and I come back and he's sound asleep. She'd like put him to sleep. I'm like, oh my God, that is so awesome. And then, yeah. And then Wakefest, like the podiums, like at the bar with the live music, like, you know, all that. And William's just, yeah, in my arms.
Just snoozing away a little buddy. For those who are not, I've never been to Wakefest, but I have seen videos and I've heard stories. Wakefest is wild would be a good way to describe the
it's a party event.
Party event, cool event, awesome event. But
yeah, the whole like, I don't know, section of the river is just lined with boats and houseboats. You have to take a 20-minute boat ride to get to the event.
Really?
Yeah, from the dock. Yeah.
I didn't know it was that far.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. It's pretty far.
Awesome. Okay, so I think now's a good time for a segment presented by Driftline, which is called Deserve Some Love. So Driftline makes wetsuit line board shorts that are perfect for spring, fall sessions, or even early mornings when it's, you know, a little bit chillier and you want that wetsuit liner in the board short. I rock these. I've been rocking these all spring. I'm a huge fan of them. If you guys are interested in trying them out, I highly recommend them. Use GRAB15, the code GRAB15 to get 15% off your order. So Deserve Some Love is just a segment that you can kind of go wherever you want with it, but somebody throughout your career that you saw that maybe didn't get the amount of love they deserved, whether that's sponsor support or just the recognition or anything like that in your life.
As far as like a rider, I would have to say Hayley Smith, for sure. Like, she was such a good rider. Like, I mean, we'd ride every day. Like, I remember she got second at Worlds. Like, I mean, she won a pro tour stop. But she never had she never got paid by any companies enough to
make it happen. Yeah.
To continue, just to like, to do what she loved to do. Like, yeah, like, I'm pretty sure, like, you know, it was really hard to cover expenses.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't even cover like the expenses of the season, like, yeah, it's just crazy. Like, she won the first World Cup stop. The first ever World Cup stop, Hayley won. $7,000. Like, yeah. And she rode different, like, to the girls. Like, when I first started riding, everyone would be like, oh, yeah, that's cool. But, like, Hayley just looks better, you know, like, or like, you know, because I was doing, like, ungrab tantrum, like scarecrow, front roll, like toe step back roll, like had all these tricks, like didn't grab my board, like very gymnast, like
getting
riding,
the tricks done.
Very gymnast riding.
Yeah.
And Hayley's background like was not gymnast, you know, like more skate and that kind of thing.
Steez.
So super steez, like, you know, like those Indy glides, like bat wings. and for her to not make a living out of the sport, like, yeah, and she won events, you know, like, and to not make a living out of the sport, like, it's cruel.
Yeah, that's a good name. That's a solid one. Thanks to Driftline for that. That's a good, deserves some love right there. So speaking of women, wakeboarding, Foundation for Women's Wake. What is this? For the people who aren't familiar, you started it. So what is?
Okay, so I went home to Australia, and look, I always try to help girls, and you know, I'm always about helping people, and I just want to try and like build the sport, get girls into the sport. So many times that I would put on a girls' clinic and have girls come out. They would come to learn to wakeboard because they'd been going out on the boat with their boyfriend and the boyfriend's crew for like a year. And they never want to go out and have a go because they don't want to look silly. And but if they came to my clinic, and then they would learn how to wakeboard, and then they would then confidently, whenever they go out on the boat with their boyfriend, they would go for a wakeboard. Yeah. And it's like, there's another board, you know. So so I went home and I'm like, I want to like do something in Australia, like just to help the girls. And so I started the Foundation for Women's Wake, and I would go and like just get sponsors involved, run a girls' clinic, and like build a kitty, like, and then the first year. So I guess like my idea behind it was supporting women's wakeboarding on all levels. So grassroots, getting people into the sport, transitioning girls from being juniors like into pro, supporting those juniors in some way, and then also like supporting the pro women as well in any way that I possibly can. So I did it by just going out as a Foundation for Women's Wake, doing clinics, like trying to get girls to like I would organise the clinic and get someone to come and coach with me if we had enough girls. And then I had the first year I did ambassador scholarships, and I gave a junior and a senior ambassador scholarship out, and I gave each girl $1,000. So that first year I gave $2,000 to Simone Kennedy as a senior ambassador, and $1,000 to Lauren Schwartz as a junior ambassador, because those girls were getting girls out on the water, and that's what it's all about. And so they were getting girls on the water, they were keeping Stoke in women's wakeboarding, and I just wanted to like give them some appreciation for that. Yeah. The following, so when I built up some more money, the next time I did a pro ambassador, and I gave it to Anne Schreiber. And at the time, like, she was really pushing it like in cable and everything like that. And so I think it was 2,000 again. So I'd given 1,000 and 1,000 that first year. And so then I gave Anne $2,000 and just like, love what you're doing, keep doing it, like keep getting more girls on the water. Like that's, awesome. And so then my next thing that I did with the foundation is I ran a junior crown event. We call it the Junior Crown. So it's a online video competition for junior women's riders. And just to get exposure, like my idea behind that was to like increase exposure to them. Look at all these girls, like all these junior women who are ripping, you know, look what they're doing, like how cool is this? And so they each, like I got sponsors and prize packs for them and stuff like that, and then announced the winners, and and the winner also, like part of her first place prize was like like 2 like mentoring sessions with me. And so that's kind of what the foundation's about.
Okay.
And and I want to do another junior crown. It's just, it's really hard to find time to between working and raising 2 kids and
Mother of 2. Certified mother of 2.
mother of 2. To have extra time to do that as well. But we did like a girls' ride day at the Australian Nationals and had like 16 girls out in the boat. And
that's a full boat.
Yeah, cranking some tunes. I was like, there's 16 spots. This boat's allowed to have 16 people in it. So write your name down and let's go.
Save some time filling up the ballast too. We'll be all right.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay, so I guess you've obviously talked to a lot of women, especially through this Foundation for Women's Wake. What do you think, I don't know how to phrase this, I guess. How do you think we get more women into the competitive side of wakeboarding? Because that's a huge bridge from just wakeboarding a little bit to, okay, now I'm pursuing progression and I'm actually trying to go to a contest to do this.
I've like always believed that it's just like getting people out on the water. The more girls that try wakeboarding, the more girls that get out on the water, then you've got like a bigger pool of people who are trying a sport who like might fall in love with it and find that they're talented and then will end up pro at the sport. So like doing girls clinics, like the girls getting out there, getting around the countries, around the globe, and just like encouraging girls to get out on the water. And you might teach them a 180, teach them the handle position to land a 180, like teach them their first invert, like whatever it is that you're doing. Like I feel like that builds the sport and then
get them in the
leads
funnel
to more, leads to more pros. Like you've got to start at the bottom to like get to the top. Like
100%. Just get the feet in the boots and the board on the water.
Yeah. Like when we had the most girls on tour, like probably we had like 20 girls on tour, and that was like directly after all that Maven stuff, the Maven clinics.
It's, at some point, it's not rocket science here. No. Why people are getting in the sport, it's because they're with a pro or someone who
and
gets
it's
them
just
into it.
Getting people like when our in 2003 till 2018 or for the 15 years that I was in Florida riding, like the amount of people that would go out on my boat and Dean's boat is just like ridiculous, to the point that I would forget that like people or people would be like, oh yeah, remember like I came to Florida and like I came out on your boat, and I'm like, oh yeah like because
of course,
like the answer's always yes, and it's always just bring some cans, like bring gas. You bring gas, like, and if they don't have cans, like come and take 2 cans out of my garage, go fill them up and come out on my boat. Like that's how Dean and I rolled. Like that's how everyone rolled, like the whole time that I was like, I never had a coach, right? But if I'm trying to learn a toe 9, I would go and ride with Danny Half. And I'm like, Danny, can I come and ride? Because like I'm trying to land this trick. Like I'm trying to land a toe 9, right? And he's like really good at spinning. So I'm like, maybe if I ride with Danny, like he might say something that might click and then I'm going to land it, or I was trying to learn a Pete Rose. So like I'm like, Watson, can I come ride? So like I go over, ride with Watson, like Chris O'Shea's in the boat, like Brent, like I remember like Chris O like telling me, to like push my front foot through the wake, like as I'm going into my peak, like, and stuff like that. So that was how I would, if I was trying to learn a trick, like whoever could do that trick, that's who I would ride
Smart.
with.
I mean,
I rode with Ben and Keith all the time, like, apart from everyone else, and Kurt Robertson. I mean, oh God, the whole crew at the wake. Yeah, like, God, me and Chad Lowe, like, riding all the time out, like, the early morning sessions, like, riding it, you wake up and get out there, get the boat ready in the dark, wait for the sun to come up, and then right
Dedicated.
before the campers start.
Dedicated.
Yeah, that was our soul sessions, we'd call those. Like Haley would be in on that one too. There's not many people that wake up early to go wakeboarding.
Yeah.
But me, Haley, and Chad would go, and I think like I was trying to land like toe 7, and so I would get up and do those 6 a.m. rides and like just do toe 3s, do so many toe 3s, just like practicing that, like the landing, like just going, this is how I'm going to land toe 7. This is how I'm going to do this twice.
Just gonna do this twice.
Like, yeah.
2 of these in the air. All right. So talking about progression and doing new tricks, we got a Patreon question from Reed Hansen.
Yeah.
Legendary wakeboarder turned wake skater, Reed Hansen. You're known for doing a lot in your career, winning contests, video parts, having great style, but I would say most of all, it's pushing the limits of what can be done with never been done tricks before. What does it take mentally to lay your body on the line to do something nobody has ever been done before? And second part of this question, why do you think progression has gone stagnant since you retired? Second one's a little spicy. That's a little spicy one, Reed.
Thanks, Reed. I feel like I'm part of the Hansen family. I was part of Hansen. Yeah. When I like text Reed and Trevor and Andy and Joni and Amber, and I'm like, hey, like, I want to see you now that
Adopted.
Yeah. So I guess the first part of the question, it's just belief. Like, I believed that I could do it. Like, it wasn't a thing of like, no one's ever done this before, so like, it's not possible to do. It's like, I've done so many toe 5s, like, and I'm out there watching, you know, Keith and Ben and whoever else I'm riding with, like, do toe 7s and toe 9s, like, with their eyes closed. It's like, it's not that hard. Like, it can't be that hard.
Yeah.
Like, so, yeah. So, I, like, really, it's just, like, the belief, and then believing that I could do it, wanting to do it, and then just being smart in the progression of learning the trick.
Just as you were saying,
right?
Going to the toe 3s.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I guess the believing is like visualizing it. So I would always like picture myself doing the trick, and then, yeah, and then doing all those like toe 3s and thinking like, this is the last bit of the trick. Like, this is how you land. So, yeah, to getting like the toe 7, and then, man, like all the guys doing toe 9s, like it's not, you know, I'm like, it can't be that hard. Like toe 9, switch toe 9, like
They're cracking these
the
things
nose
off.
grab,
Yeah.
doing with like, you know, melon, whatever. Like, yeah, like, and at that point, like Danny had probably landed a 12. Like, it's just like, I don't know. I can land 7s now. I can do a melon toe 7. Like the next step is a toe 9. Like,
Yeah.
I should learn it. I should try it. I should do it.
And you did.
Yeah. And then, I mean, the funny thing is, like, I never thought that I was going to be the first girl to land a double. Like, I was like, these, like, all the cable girls, like, cable was getting really strong at that point. Like, there was a whole crew of it. Like, I'm just like, and I'm like done, like, slamming my body and putting my body on the line. Like, it can't handle much more at this point. And, but I was out at the cable park at Sydney, and I'm watching like Brenton and like all the boys just like do their double cabbies like off this kicker and just make it look so effortless and so easy. And I'm just like, it can't be that hard.
It's just twice around. I mean,
And I'd never done a half cab roll before. I never did
Really?
a cab roll behind the boat. Nah. And so I like, in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to come off the kicker and I'm going to do a toe-side back roll, because like toe-side back rolls are my like thing. Like,
Yeah.
I love toe-side back rolls. And so, yeah, so I do like, so I learnt to do like a cab roll, grab it. I'm like, okay, all right, like, you know, that's pretty easy, feels pretty good. All right. And then like, I'm asking the boys like, so what kind of cut do I need to take to like do a double? And yeah, and it was, I don't know, maybe about like within about 3 weeks, like where but I would go and I'd only try 3. I'd try 3 and then like go home and get my neck worked on and stuff. And then
I was going to say, so the double half cab or double, like the whether you're doing it switch or regular, it's the same kind of rotation.
Yeah.
How many of those just toe side diggers did you take?
So I don't even, I from memory, I landed it in about 10 tries.
Really?
Yeah, 9 or 10 tries. But then after that, like every time you go to a different kicker, different cable, like I was trying to get it for Prime and I was trying to do it at Lake Ronix.
On the
2.0 on like the kicker there. Like I was filming the Kilgus, not on the bi-level.
Dealer cable, whatever.
And I landed a cut, like, you know, you under rotate some, like you over rotate, like, and like I landed 1 or 2, but it wasn't clean enough. Like, so, but yeah, to actually land the first one, it was like 9. Like I tried 3, I went away, came back, tried another 3, went away, came back.
How do you stop yourself at 3? You got to have a strong mental game because there's no way if I'm like even sniffing one of those things, like I'm going to
like at this point, like as I said, I'm 30. I'd had probably like 7 concussions. I had 2 knee reconstructions, one when I was 19, one when I was 20. So I was just like, I've got to be smart here. Like, you know, like there's a line, like you can teeter on the line, but like you've got to, like, if you go over that line, like you're going to be out.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not like it was 10 years
ago.
ago.
It's not worth it. Yeah. And for me, like there's a fine line, and then it wasn't worth it because I'm making a living out of my sport. And if I can't do my sport, then I'm not going to make a living, right? So I'm at this point, like, that I'm doing this like real gentle balance of like keeping my body out of pain, like not being stupid. But hey, if this thing's going to come off, like, which it did, then epic. Like,
smart progression. A lot of people could learn a thing or two from that, I think. So, second part of that question, spicy meatball. Or do you think, do you think it has? And if you think it has, why?
I mean, I was the only one doing those tricks. I was the only one like pushing, you know, like landing, like move of the year came around every year or like for a few years. And like, you know, I was winning it, like I won it three times. Yeah. And then Beck won it for her whirly 5.
Stomped the piss out
and
of that.
I had my double cabbie up against that, but it was sketchy.
Yeah.
So, which is super awesome. Like for a women's move of the year, and it's a whirly 5 and a double cabbie, like 2 first twos.
Yeah,
like,
now we're talking, baby.
Yeah, that's like epic. So, look, Jamie Lapina has definitely like been pushing it, like, you know, nose grab heel 7, switch heel 7, like she's definitely pushing it. Megan doing tricks that look different, like wrapping, grabbing, like that's what makes people look at women's wakeboarding, right? It's like, that looks cool. Like anytime that Megan puts something up on Instagram, like a movie, like, or like, you know, a clip, like I'm always watching it, and I might watch it a couple of times going like, damn, that looks awesome, you know? And then like other girls put up clips and I'm like, oh yeah, you know, same. And you know what? I always comment on it anyway. And I'm like, yeah, that'll be awesome with a grab on it. Like,
there you go, grab matters, baby. Let's go.
So, and I'm sure they're like, oh yeah, Amber.
Yeah. What? It's never good enough for you, huh? What?
So, yeah, I think like, yeah, it's an interesting thing. Look, hopefully with Zara back in the sport, like that she'll, push it and
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at some names right now. Zara, Julia, or Jamie Lupina. And then there's Julia, the Italian chick. She's cracking off
epic.
sevens and she's kids.
Yeah, I was in the boat judging for her and we were just what? So
she's a name to look out for. And then obviously Megan
absolutely.
also. So
Absolutely. So yeah, there's girls making things happen. I just like to see the girls grabbing more and lengthening their ropes out a bit further. But so you can go bigger.
Yeah. All right. And I think, contests always fuels progression. So the more contests there are and the more women you have in it, the more that they're going to need to progress to do better.
Yeah.
So that's a huge side of the sport and aspect as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And you need to look, in my opinion, you need a longer line to go bigger for women. I know some guys have short lines, but
I'd be all over that short line for the record. Get me at 60, 65 feet, baby. We're good.
But look, women's wakeboarding and men's wakeboarding is very different. A female, we don't have the strength that males do. It's our genetic makeup. So, you need more speed coming into the wake to go bigger to be able to land that trick. And it's hard to load a short line. So, I just feel sometimes if the rope's a bit longer, then you're going to be able to build more speed.
Yeah.
And go bigger and do bigger tricks.
Speaking of rope length, speed, let's talk setup. So you ride a little bit of both, right? Boat and cable still?
Yeah.
Mostly boat, would you say?
Yeah, mostly boat.
Okay. So I'm wondering rope length, stance angles, speed, board size. And you could answer that back in the day when you were in the heat of it and then maybe now if it's changed a little bit.
Okay.
Kind of curious.
So back in the day when I was riding 90 feet and probably about 24-ish.
Back there.
Yeah, behind the Supra, Ben's Supra. What I can't remember what I think. I think it was a 24 SSV.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'd ride behind Keith's Malibu 24 LSV. And those boats are just set up to ride 90 feet.
Okay.
So that's what we all did. We rode 90 and then we shortened our lines to 87. And
oh, really bringing it back, reeling that one in 3 feet.
And so I rode 87 and a half for a while. And then the wakes, the motors changed and the wakes really juiced up. And then we came into 85 and 82 and a half. And then I was riding 82 and a half and 82 and a half behind the first G. But then behind the Mastercraft, you would ride 80. And then, that was probably... So I probably finished competing in 2018 on 80 feet.
Okay.
And now, because I retired 6 years ago, so I don't wakeboard that much. We haven't had a boat. We haven't had a wakeboard boat for 6 years. Well, yeah. Since we left.
Yeah.
So for 6 years, I haven't had a wakeboard boat. So my rope is 77 and a half now.
Okay.
Behind whatever. I've decided I can't ride any shorter than that. I brought it down. I pulled it into 75 because I was everyone's riding these short lines. Maybe this is a thing.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't wakeboard. And then I thought, oh, maybe I'm just old and I can't wakeboard anymore.
I'm just washed up. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah. And so then I was like, no, I'm just going to try and lengthen because I felt the wake came to me too quick. And so then, I lengthened it back out to 77. And I've been and I've had some really fun sets with Scotty Keller, Black Diamonds, with the G juiced and 77 and
that's money for you.
Yeah.
What board size, stance angle are we looking at?
So the last couple of years, I've been riding the 138 contrast. I do like riding a 134 though.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to ride a shorter board. Because like it's like, you know, I had my second child and I retired and I hadn't been in the gym as much and so everything just was a bit weird for a while. And so now like my youngest son is 6 and I'm just like, I feel good. I feel like back to normal. And so I'm like going back to what, you know, pre-kids of like thing or like, you know, or my last event, what it was. So, yeah. So I'm going to ride like a 134 and then I'm like a bit ducked. I'm like 12 and a half or 15.
On both? Is it, are you even? Are you doing a little
I'm
directional?
even.
Okay.
I'm even. And sometimes I set, depending on like the board width, because my feet are really small, sometimes I set my stance a little bit more like to the toes so that I can get over my toe side. Because like there's like a gap like on each side of my boot, like about of that much, like
and that's significant.
to the rail, right? And so like on the heel, I'm like, no, I can get on my heels, but like to get over my toes, sometimes I'm like, depending on the board, I have to like just push my boots forward just a little bit.
I got the opposite problem. My feet are too big, so I got not a lot of room to work with. But yeah, I don't know. That's okay. So a little bit ducked, 134, 70, you said 77 and a half?
Yeah, 77 and a half.
How often do you ride these days?
It's interesting. I rode yesterday, so that was fun.
There you go.
Because it's available. Not very often. If like, you know, if you ask Dean, he says like 5 times a year.
We got to bump those numbers up, Amber. We got to bump those up.
But we ride like a whole New South Wales round, like our state round. So there's like 5 of those. So I pretty much ride in contests.
Okay.
And I don't get to ride much. Like at home now, like my parents, like my dad, like my parents water ski still. And so he has like a 196 ski nautique. And so that's what, like if I wakeboard, that's what I wakeboard behind. It's got no pole. It's low pole.
See,
like,
I was going to say the boat, not a huge deal, but if you're on the low pole, it's
a low pole. It's a 19-foot ski boat, closed bow. Like there's not really. And then to drive to Scotty's, it's 2 hours. It's like an hour 45, 2 hours.
That's not too bad. That's not terrible.
Yeah, but you drive and then
I
ride for like 15 minutes and then, you know.
Sometimes that's all you need, especially behind the boat.
Anyway, so yeah, not too, like a lot in competition. I went in like all the comps, like state, nationals, ride for fun, like.
Yeah.
I don't know, whenever I can.
You're like
whenever the opportunity to ride.
You're like Allen Iverson. I don't know if you know a basketball player. He's got a famous quote, and somebody was giving him a hard time about not going to practice. He just does the contest, the games. He's like, what are you talking about practice? I don't need to practice. I just go to the contest. Just go to the game.
We sitting here, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah, there's a boat there. There's, you know.
All set up.
Yeah, it's just, you go down.
So will you ever stop wakeboarding?
No, I don't think so.
Love it. Love it.
I can't help myself. My dad will go for a ski and I'm like, yeah, I'll just like put my board on and we call it like a tour. I'm like, just take me for a tour of the river. Yeah. So we leave the dock and like go around the whole, like.
That's fun.
Some little bays and then come back and I just do like wake jumps and 180s and backs on 180s and
See, that sounds like a lot of fun.
It is fun.
It's a little tour. So speaking of getting older, retiring, I got 2 questions. Mm-hmm. One, are you foiling now? What's the foil situation looking like? Because some people I bring on and they're like, I stopped wakeboarding. I'm like, well, you're foil age now. Yeah. So are you foiling? Or is it still wakeboard?
Dean loves foiling and I've like learn't how to foil and I wouldn't say that like I foil.
You're not loyal to the foil
No,
yet.
I'm not loyal to the foil. No. Because we like once again we don't have like an epic setup for it. Like we're foiling behind the 196.
If you get a massive wing, you could probably make that work.
It's like a tiny little I've got to like, talk to my key and get,
Get a big wing on
get
that unit.
slingshot to like help me. But yeah. So yeah, but like I learned how to do it behind the boat, like on, you know, holding the rope and everything like that. And then we were like in Grafton, this like sweet little river spot, hanging out with Daniel Watkins, and I went behind his boat on a foil and I let go and I like rode without holding on, and yeah, done some like another like Malibu. Yeah, I went out with some Malibu crew and we did a social day for our state, and yeah, and I foiled and I'm like, I'm doing it. Like, yeah, so it's fun. I'm like, look, I'm a
Dabbling.
wing. I'm a wing. It's part of like, you know, I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of on
like,
brand.
I have to like try everything behind a boat.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and wing, literally, they have wing. I should have done foil. I should have done foil wing trivia. Dang it. I really missed opportunity there. Okay, so talking about retiring though.
Yeah.
So you retired after a contest, not after an injury or after having a kid. Was that a conscious decision that you made to kind of say, I'm going to hang it up on, I guess, my own accord, my own terms?
Absolutely. I was riding really good, and at the Australian Open, it was super rolly, and I didn't get the right takeoff, and I broke my ankle on a Moby Dick, and I tried to come back for Masters, and I rode Masters, but I was not feeling that great on my board, and I was like, man, this season's just like, it's a write-off, like, I don't know. And so, and then I was like, I should just have another baby. I don't know.
Let's just run that back.
You know, that's just like, you know, idiot. Anyway, so then I'm like, man, I've like gotten injured, like now I'm pregnant, have a baby. I'm like, this is not how my story finishes. Like, no, I'm like, and so then at the end of that year, like I had zero, like sponsors were done because I still had Rockstar, like, and Ronix and everyone. And so, yeah, at the end of the year, like no contract renewals, and it didn't help. Like, and 2016 was a really good year, right?
Yeah.
But 2017 in January, I broke my ankle, and so then that kind of was why I decided to have a second child. Like, and it's awesome. They're like 2.5 years apart, so they're best mates. Like, it's the best thing ever. Like, there's no way I'd ever like change my mind on that decision that I made. And yeah, but I was just like, I'm not, that's not how I'm finishing. And so, so I just had Jamison, trained really hard, and I came over to the day that Jamison was born. My house in Florida sold, which was crazy. And then I flew over with 2 kids for 6 weeks, and packed up my house and trained and got everything shipped to Australia, and then flew to the West Coast to Monroe to ride my last event, which is the US Nationals.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then and my board didn't arrive.
Classic situation right there.
Oh, so like I'm in tears, going like, you know, I'm trying to borrow a board. Like Megan said, like I can borrow a board. She didn't want me to change the like bindings on it. So then I'm like searching. Holly Waldrop was still like in like girls, right? She's probably in 10 or 14 girls. Yeah. She had the exact boots that I rode, so she lent me her boots, or her dad, like. So then I had a pair of boots, and then I can't remember Nicola. I think I rode Nicola's. I think she was riding the Jet at the time.
Just a mishmash.
It was a mishmash, yeah, on like a 36 or something. And put those together, rode, won my heat, made finals. And then once I made finals, I was like, that's all. That's like, I'm stoked. My
Proud
board
of that,
arrived, like, and then rode finals and got 6th place. But I was just stoked that, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, were you feeling satisfied? Obviously, to go out with a win is like, that would be crazy and awesome. But like, was I mean, you didn't need that, I guess, to feel satisfied.
I didn't need a win. I didn't want. I couldn't win. Like, I had a 6-month-old baby. Like I'm not fully recovered.
Yeah.
Like, I know some people go out like, and with, you know, and their baby's 3 months old and like get a win. Like, but that's not me. Like, so yeah, no, I was stoked to win my heat and make finals and to be in that final.
Yeah.
That was all I needed.
Was it kind of a surreal moment because you knew it going into it that this was going to be the last one, right? You kind of had already drawn it up.
It was wild. Yeah, it was emotional. I was emotional, and it was like, I don't know. I just remember like at the event when I'm saying goodbye to people, I'm like, I didn't even know when I'm going to see you again. You know, like it's kind of like, you know, like Brian Grubb, like, is my like Malibu teammate, like been on the boat with him so much. Like, he's always like been judging like our events for like so long, you know, like always around. I'm like, I haven't even seen him. Like, I haven't seen him since then. Like, I don't know.
You're not at these events anymore.
Because I'm not around. Yeah. Like, yeah. So it's like 6 years. And I thought, like, in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm leaving. I'm like, but we're going to be back every 2 years. Like, in my head, I was like, we're going to come back every 2 years. Whoever wants to come to Australia can come, like, in the alternate year. Like,
yeah,
like, awesome. But that didn't happen. Like, I don't know. Well, like, there's COVID and there's heaps of other stuff that happened. Like,
true, yeah, it just fall right in the mix
reality of the situation of how much it actually costs to get from Sydney to Orlando.
Not cheap. And time off from
work and yeah.
So I guess speaking of post retirement, what are you and Dean and the little grommets up to? What are you guys doing?
So our kids are at school. Dean and I, while we were wakeboarding, bought this house. Back home, we didn't realize how awesome the area is, and it's awesome. We love it so much. And so Dean's like the Australian sales manager for HO and Hyperlight. And I work in my family business, which is Wing Wetsuits. And we're the Australian distributors for Slingshot, Wake and Kite, and Double Up. And we do another like ski hard shell boot Reflex. We import those from France.
I talked to Joel Poland the other day. We didn't talk about that, but I'm dabbling in the ski a little bit.
So we're the Australian distributors for them. We manufacture our own wetsuits. We've been manufacturing those. It's my mum and dad's company, and we've been doing wetsuits for 42 years.
It's a long time.
Yeah. So I do that, and I coach gymnastics 2 nights a week. Back at the club that I was that I trained at, under my coach. So my coach still owns the gym. Yeah. And I coached there, and I started coaching like little 4 and 5 year old girls. Like I would it's like bringing them into like the development program, and now I'm coaching the level 7 to 10 girls. I help the head female coach on beam and floor, and it's super fun. Like, I love it. I love working in the family business. I'm the accounts manager, but it's a family business. Do lots of different things, like not just
wearing a lot of hats, I'm sure.
Yeah, lots of hats. So I love doing that. Love, like, I don't love being on a computer, but I like doing that kind of work and being part of that. And then I like to not be on a screen, and my other job is coaching.
Yeah, it kind of fulfills that a little bit too.
Yeah.
So kind of bring it back to wakeboarding a little bit. What gets you stoked on wakeboarding right now? Because, do you still follow, it sounds like you do, still follow somewhat closely wakeboarding.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're right in the in the Australian wakeboard scene again. I guess like we've slowly gotten back into that scene in the over the last 3 years, like being at the events and everything, like, yeah, seeing like what needs to happen, knowing that we're capable of maybe doing things, maybe like a judging course, or like me knowing to talking to the right people to get like coaches accredited, like the way that Australia wakeboarding works under the IWWF. So things like that, just helping to keep the sport going and growing in Australia. And so now we know like all the families, all the young ones coming through, like all that. Dean and I have been judging Moomba for the last 3 years.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dean drove one year when Scotty Kell couldn't drive. But yeah, so we've been judging it. So that's fun. And that's great to see like the international juniors come in and we can see them come through. And then, yeah, watching all the pros ride and seeing them. And yeah, I was in the boat when Jamie did that. I filmed that nose grab hill 7.
You did?
Yeah, because I knew she was going to do it. So I posted it first.
Sorry, Jamie. I'm getting that one out there.
Yeah, I just wanted to, get some traction on my Instagram.
Love that. All right. Before we move on to the Patreon questions, which will air the Sunday after this episode comes out on YouTube. They'll come out the day after this podcast comes out on Patreon. So if you're on the Patreon, you get a little earlier, but we'll do those after this podcast. But as we wrap up this pod, is there anyone you'd like to thank or anything else you want to touch on here?
Who I'd like to thank? I'd like to thank every single person that took me wakeboarding because, yeah, I didn't have a boat and there are so many people that took me out wakeboarding, whether it was one time or 10 times or way more than you could even count. Yeah, 100 times. Like, yeah, absolutely. All those people. There's random people that come up and say, yeah, you went ride behind my boat. Like, awesome, thanks. Yeah. So I want to thank all those people. I guess thank Dean just for always supporting me and, having my back in whatever crazy things that I chose to do. And always supporting women's wakeboarding. Like, he seriously is one of the biggest cheerleaders for women's wakeboarding. Yeah. Ben and Keith, for sure. They, always had my back. And and Kurt Robertson, he, always when I needed to ride or I wanted to ride and if Dean was out of town, I could always rely on him to drive me. So, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. I don't know. There's so many, I don't know.
It's a tough rabbit hole to go down.
Everyone, the whole industry, seriously. It's such a massive family. All the companies, whether they sponsored me or didn't, they were just all so supportive, and such a massive family, throughout my whole time in the sport that, they're still family. I still, every now and then touch base with, Don or, see how people are going. So
love that. Love it. Well, thanks a ton for coming on. It means a lot. It's awesome that we could line this up. You guys coming here to the States. It's really cool. I was very excited to sit down and chat with you. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks for coming on. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, make sure to rate 5 stars. That really helps me out a lot. Thanks everyone for tuning in. See you guys next time.